So this is me trying to give back to the YouTube community for really helping me out on this DIY outdoor kitchen. I basically pulled from a bunch of other YouTube videos out there, ShoeString Martha. Um, I can't remember some of the names of some of the other ones. I'll put a link into the description here so you can see the other ones. They really helped me out. I just wanted to talk to some of the steps that they don't cover for anyone else that's trying to do this. Um, some of the things that you should know. So in particular, it wasn't clear to me how these things are supported, your appliances. It turns out that they're supported through, there's different kinds, but most of them are supported on the countertop. So you don't need to build anything underneath to support it. It all rests right on top of it. Um, I'm going to go with granite like some of the other people have done, but yeah, it's going to rest on there uh, through, and you don't need to support anything underneath it. I've got 3 drawers here and 2 doors. Another thing you should know, check your manual. I don't know why this is. Napoleon, like I checked like half of the manuals of, I don't know, all different brands out there. Napoleon will say you can't put any propane tanks underneath. Now that's a little weird because all your built-in ones have the propane underneath. Now yes, it's underneath and to the side, but Napoleon will say several times that you can't put your propane tank underneath your grill. I'm going to store them under my Griddle, which did not have that under the manual, but you'll see that, like, I don't know, half of the manuals will say do not store your propane under there, and then you don't know if they mean use the propane tank you're using or an extra one. Some make that distinction, some don't. Some will say don't put anything under there. Some don't mention it at all. If you talk to BBQGuys, they'll say, since most of the manuals forbid, I think is the word that they use, from putting propane tanks underneath, that you shouldn't do it. It's certainly not recommended. I think because of the heat. You could also put a heat shield. I was thinking about putting a shelf in there, something to keep it. It doesn't even really get that hot underneath it, right? If you take any grill and put your hand underneath it when all things are burning, it's got a heat reflective shield, and all the heat is basically pushed up through the grate, so you don't get a ton underneath. But I guess for safety reasons, it's something you should think about when you're designing them. You can get encapsulated containers for it. They use extra space. I don't like them. I think this is going to be safe enough, but if anyone else has any suggestions or things that you do, or I don't know why this is the case, but it's something you should be aware of when you're planning. When you I'm using a different head screw that I saw someone else, and make sure you get the ones that are not the lath ones, that they are metal to metal. They don't need to be super long. These are what ones that I'm using. And the thing you'll notice in some of the other things, I think ShoeString Martha was using a drill. Pre-drilling them sometimes helps, but if you let the bit do the work, and you have, I don't know, high speed, something that will just let it chew through the metal, don't push too hard, you can usually get it to go through pretty easily. I've had a couple of annoying ones, but this impact driver spins pretty fast, and if you just let the bit do the work, it can eat through this. This is 20 gauge steel. I was a little bit reluctant to use the 25. Someone said that Home Depot, in my area, Home Depot does have this. I got this from Home Depot. You can go to a building supply store. They have 18 gauge, more structural stuff. This is supposed to take, I think, for like a wall up to, I don't know. I think it's like 2,000 pounds or something when you have a proper wall set up for these types of studs. But so I didn't go through the building supply store. They don't like dealing. They're slightly more expensive. They don't like dealing with homeowners so much. They'll ship it to your house, but it's probably not where they're making most of their money. But if you want 18 gauge, you could do that. They have barbecue tubes and other crazier things you can use. I didn't see the benefit of that. This is pretty solid. I did put extra bracing in several places. You'll see I have cross bracing here. You might want to design in specific cross bracing that connects between your I don't know, the side and so basically they connect better than what I'm doing here. I got some of these angle brackets that you see here. and it's pretty solid. I was a bit worried putting the appliances on before I put the concrete board on because the concrete board will make it less flex a lot less. But yeah, uh, but the concrete board I don't think makes. I mean, it's pretty solid without having to put the concrete board on. But I'm sure that that's going to make it flex a lot less, even more, and really just bring down that structural integrity, or increase that structural integrity. Um, if you're doing this on a deck, make sure that you. No one seems to ever talk about this, but make sure you understand how much weight your deck can hold. I added up everything. The stone veneer is going to be 400 pounds. These things are each about, I don't know, 100 pounds. The granite countertop will be about 600 pounds. And so the tributaries in this deck support up to 300 pounds per square inch. My double wide 12-inch 2 by 12. I basically overhauled this deck, so I know a lot about it. But which is I think 8 inches support posts, 6 by 6s. I mean, this takes up to 4,000 pounds. This is not a jacuzzi or a hot tub that is 8,000 pounds. This is essentially about the weight of, I don't know, 8 full-grown men standing along this railing. However, they are doing it constantly. The ground itself can take up to 1,500 pounds per square inch. The boards can take, I can't even remember, a lot more. This composite boards. So anyways, point is that for the few people that are building it on a deck, which you do find plenty of videos doing this, they say check for the weight, but they just make sure you. I didn't want to pay a structural engineer. They wanted to charge me $1,000. But do your math. There's calculators on the line. There's the building code will actually talk about how much this is all to code. 50 pounds per square inch over the whole deck, and this is even in this area it's slightly more than that for the live load. But it's certainly to code because the whole deck is so big that it certainly keeps to that. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to kind of probably clip a few other things together. That's some of the things that I've thought about that I wish I knew before I started my build. Um, I'll piece together a couple other pieces here. So this is a program you can use. It's called SketchUp. It's completely free. I really recommend just completely planning out your entire project from start to finish. It'll just help you in the end. It's going to be a big pain in going in this level of detail. Yes, you have to make each stud. You get to really know the software though, so you can very quickly rotate and copy. And I don't know, maybe it takes you a day. I have no idea. But the point is that once you know every single thing here, every single measurement, you've actually thought through every single. I can't actually get the measurements here. Here we go. Once you have every single measurement here down to the inch, you've thought through everything. You know the exact amount of materials you'll need. It really is the only way to do this. I would not just wing it. You'll thank yourself in the end once you've completely thought through and ran into the problems before you've ran into the problems. So again, SketchUp, it's completely free. They have a desktop version you can pay for, but this is almost always enough. I did this for my deck and many other things too. Like I said, it's a pain, but yeah, you should just completely plan out the entire project from start to finish, and things will go much more smoothly. When I was running into this, I ran into problems that I didn't. I was very glad that I didn't run into. I didn't wasn't actually on the build working on these things. So you actually run it ahead of time, every single piece, every single material, every single dimension, everything you can possibly do. Then it'll just go smoother because you just basically fix all those things ahead of time. Yeah. So another tip. Here's another tip. You could there's different blades you can use. I don't recommend using the snips. You can use it. It's going to have some really bad edges, but you can certainly do the whole thing. But as you can see from my build, that there are a ton of cuts you have to make, probably hundreds. And so I would I have the snips, but I used that once and said because the edge was so bad and I figured it would hurt my hand after a while that I already had this. this miter saw from what I was using on my deck earlier. I had this Diablo blade, which is made for non-ferrous metals, so it's made for aluminums and coppers and things like that, not for steels. Um, you can cut through it with it. You kind of have to, I don't know, bounce it, do things. I would also recommend, if you're getting a miter saw, I also recommend not renting anything if you're a DIYer. Every time I rent something, it's a big mess. Because you're on a timeline, right? These things are cheap enough that you just buy them and you can take care of your things in your own time. I don't like that this is not reticulating, or whatever you call it, where the blade comes out. That actually, when I see people cut steel studs with that, they seem to come in at the right angle. Um, and so what you would do is, the way I cut it is sort of is to grab some um, to grab the right edge of it here, and then and cut through it that way, as opposed to laying it flat. That seems to work a little bit better. But you can also find these kind of metal cutoffs. They also work too. And then this is an actual one made for steel, which is what I'm using. They all kind of work, but I would recommend just buying the steel blade. It seems to work the best. So just a couple more things, now that I thought about it. Some people are making theirs out of wood. All the manuals say not to do that. Nothing combustible, at least if you don't have a self-contained enclosure. And then people will do one better and just take a black stone griddle and then shove it in there and make it work. I'm not willing to do that. I'm not saying it's not safe, but the Blackstone people won't warranty or even advise you for any of that stuff. Yes, it's $300 versus the $2,000 that I paid for my griddle, but mine's made to be in a built-in. Yeah, I would not take that risk of having putting a Blackstone in a wood frame. You're probably okay, but yeah, I was not willing to take that risk. Another thing that people may not be aware of is the RV community is really good with these changeover regulators. You can see this is kind of a mess. I'm getting some Y splitters off of eBay. The whole idea here, and I don't know if I'm going to stick with it, you can have 2 propane tanks. You won't run out of gas ever. Well, not unless you go through both of them, but it'll immediately change over, so there's no changing tanks in the middle of your middle of cooking. So I think this is a better system. I don't know. I'm kind of after looking at all the adapters, you got to be careful with the NPTs and the MIPs and the QCC ones and all the different things. And now there's more chance for leaks, but I think I kind of finally have it down that this is not what it's going to look like. But we're going to have 2 propane tanks hooked up to 4 devices, technically 3 devices permanent, a pizza oven, a griddle, and a grill, and then also be able to pull out a wok burner with a quick connect. Now, if this works, it'll be there's the quick connect down there. If this works, this would be great. But worst case scenario, I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way, 1 tank, hook devices on and off. But for right now, I don't know, still experimenting with this. I think that any propane accessories or propane experts would know how to do this stuff much better than they'll probably laugh at what I have down there. But yeah, I've got some better Y connectors. I'm gonna probably take half the amount of adapters that you see there, or splitters. But I tested it out, even what you have here, although there's some leaks that I would need to fix. But I'm going to redo all this, but everything seemed to work fine. My griddle was the one thing that I'm worried about. It wants half a PSI. Actually, once you get past this regulator, you don't need regulators anywhere downstream, because it's all gone down to low pressure, which is 11 inches water column, which is close to half PSI. And so it's not exactly. So I'm a bit concerned that it was a super windy day, so I couldn't. So I think that's why it was getting super hot. But the pizza oven and the grill worked fine, and they only want 11 inches of water column. So I don't know. We're gonna see. But this is something you might want to consider if you wanted to hook up multiple devices. So this is another thing people should be aware of. Many people will float the frame on some composite boards here, and that's fine, and also take the concrete backer and give it a little gap for the water to run underneath. The issue seems to be, and I don't know if this is a big deal, I'm just a DIYer, remember, but this is Wonderboard Light 7/16 inch, I believe, and it's made for outdoor environments, wet environments. All the technical manual says that it's made for that stuff. But I'm just a little worried that I want this thing to last, right? Decades, right? I don't want it to have to mess with this and, I don't know, repair or do anything with it for as long as I can. And I'm just concerned that when the water splashes up, it wicks. So the stone's going to go over it, so we'll have a lot less of that. But I'm just worried that any water that kind of splashes underneath is going to wick behind it over and over again. And I mean, it's fine, one or twice, but I don't know. Is this going to last for I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years before it starts to crumble? Even the worst thing is that these are galvanized studs, but you can already see that it's starting to have these little tiny rust spots. The wicking will go back behind the studs and start to rust the studs. I was already planning on putting some red guard on top, so this will be sort of a rubberized, waterproof flashing. I don't know if there's any way to put some, I don't know, butyl tape or something underneath to keep it even further from the water wicking into it. But I'm kind of glad that I already planned for the red guard, which I thought was going to be overkill. But there are gaps in this stone, and the water they don't have you grout between the stones, so the water can migrate behind it. It's going to wick to the board. It's going to go to the studs, and it's just galvanized. And I mean, who knows what type of galvanized? But I don't know if this is going to last. I mean, structurally sound maybe, but still, the idea that these could be soaking up water over and over again and rusting over again, that doesn't sit right with me. So I don't know. I'm going to try my best with the red guard, and who knows if I'll see if I can slip in some butyl tape. Anyone else doing this you might want to consider, I mean, maybe I'm overbuilding this, but red guarding it, or any other product before you actually put this up. I didn't have the time, or right now I didn't even think about it, but if you red guard the whole thing, then hopefully the concrete board is completely, even underneath and behind, waterproof. It's something you might want to consider, just so that you know. So this is with a layer of red guard. Again, I have no idea if this is necessary, but I was very concerned with the way that this would wick up, the concrete would wick up the water under any rain. So even if it's covered with stone, and remember, this stone you don't grout it, so it has clack, and you're supposed to actually seal it. Water can get behind that, certainly get straight to that. Now this is I forget, this is Wonderboard Light outdoor wet environment concrete backer board, but even with that, I want this to last a long time. It would totally wick in to those studs. These galvanized studs, they start to at least show little signs of rust. So I decided to red guard it. I have no idea. Just being extra careful, especially the bottom here, where once the deck starts to get a lot of water on it, it'll wick it up. But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea if this is right, but I don't think it's wrong. The red guard is made for outdoors. This is 2 coats, waterproof, and it will take the stone, so I don't see a problem with it. But yeah, just something to think about. So this is what it looks like before the granite is installed. I would just be very careful if you put down this waterproofer, that you make sure it's nice and smooth and square and true in every direction, everything you can do, because you'll notice that the stone doesn't actually wrap it well unless you have everything square and in good shape. It's very forgiving, this stone, because it's so I don't know, it's not uniform, so it can wrap around it pretty well, but I'm not super proud of how I did. I did okay, but I'm sure any mason would just laugh at how well I did. So you can see, like, there's some areas right here that are not great. I'm going to colorize some thin set and put it in there to kind of hide it, but yeah, make sure everything is square and level and everything, and it'll actually work out better for you. So here's the finished product. I don't know, I think it came out okay. My complaints are, and some tips for anyone, you can, when it comes to being a mason, make sure everything is flat levels, and in this particular case square. You gotta make sure that that where you put the concrete board on, that it's just completely square and flat and level. Even with these ledger panels are very forgiving. You can see that they have so many bumps. That's kind of make it so that it's easier for anyone to install, but I'm a very bad mason, and so you can so first of all, you just got to get around the corners right, and so you need things to be square. But secondly, when it comes to putting on the thin set, less is more, because I just had they're constantly coming through. You can kind of see some of the imperfections here. They would sort of squeeze through these little joints, and yeah, it was not, I don't know, you got to put less on, and then I think everyone in the entire world is a better mason than I am. You can, by the way, you can get thin set colorer. I think it's Perma Select color packets that you would use for grout, you can use for color. So you can get a kind of a grayer one in case they do come through. I went back in with some places and actually put in some of that gray, and it's actually harder to see. So you can colorize your thin set. There's some other videos on YouTube that show how to do that. And yeah, so less is more. If you make as much a mistake as I did, you can get concrete remover of different brands. It doesn't work super well, and it's probably, you don't want to do this, but if you have like a little brush, they say you're not supposed to use wire brushes on this, but I did. Say you're not supposed to use pressure washer. I only use it on I use it far away, and only on places where I saw some thin set still there. You can see it's still not great, but I mean, far enough away. I don't know if it'll show in the video the imperfections, but far enough away, it's fine for me. I guess to save, I don't know, $5,000-$10,000 on this, I guess it's worth it. But yeah, if you do it, if you make mistakes, wipe off all your thin set. It's really hard on this split stone. You can get the non-split version where it doesn't have as much texture on it. It still has the raised bumps, so it's easier to install. You don't have to make things perfect, but the split aspect is it won't get so much thin set stuck into these little crevices. So yeah, if you want, you can get the smoother version, and I kind of like the other smoother version too. And then yes, make sure you wipe it up, keep it clean as you go. Keep it really clean. And if it's not at the end, you can get concrete dissolver. You can use a pressure washer. Be very careful with it. You can use a wire brush, but you're not supposed to. You could actually even leave lines in there. But the concrete dissolver, if you spray it, you can watch it slowly dissolve. It's not great. It'll take a while, maybe a few times, but you can kind of clean it up. Then seal it. I did seal it, made it look a lot better. Brought out the sort of the color. Same with the countertop. What else can I say? The one other thing is the system down here works well. A changeover. So there's a changeover regulator in the back there. It's been working pretty well. So as soon as one goes up, you throw it on the other one, so you have continuous gas supply. I hooked up some these tank, I don't know, monitors, whatever, Mopicas. So it will tell me like how much is in there. They're sort of attached to the bottom of these. Then when I run out, I just call this company here and they just deliver it right to my house, because I hate going. It's the same price. Yes, I know you can go and fill it your own and probably save, who knows, maybe like 30% if you go and fill these and own them yourself. But it's not worth the time for me. So I just said, I think it's the same price if you go to Home Depot. You just have these guys come to your house and then exchange them. So I have pretty much continuous supply. It runs all 3 of these things. Oh, the one thing I will say, this griddle, the Griddle, I don't know if I want to recommend it or not. It's it just doesn't seem to get, like, if you had a Blackstone, I'm sure it gets a lot hotter than this. Now, part of it may be because this is a French made, as you can tell. It has a regulator that uses water column as opposed to whatever the other one is, PSI. I don't even know what it is, inch per. I can't remember. But the point is that there's the 2 calculations are slightly different. I haven't tried the other regulator that is supposed to be made for this. As you can see, it's hooked up to my fancy changeover system. This one here, I basically went right through the. You can actually go to Granger and get these little grommets, and you can get one pretty. When they install your granite, you can basically just tell them to drill to a certain type. Just make sure it's the right size. You put this in there. I siliconed it in. It's not great, but it goes straight back in there. So the pizza oven, this griddle, this this range, all are or this grill is all hooked up to the same system, all with the changeover. So three appliances, 2 tanks, 1 regulator back there. I actually have a smallish wok burner. Wok burners won't work. If you want to do crab boils, it's really wet down here. I'm gonna probably put in something that will keep this drier. This is more to do with me cleaning the outside with like hoses and stuff than the rain. The rain will get in because it gets in through these cracks right here. I haven't thought about siliconing it or anything, but everything else is pretty dry, especially inside the drawers. I mean, not now because I spray from the outside when I was cleaning them, so a lot of water is spraying in. I don't know if it's going to be like this for a long time, but I might put something in here because you can see I have this upside down because my wok actually, the water does drip down in there. So I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can do something about, or look in here and see if I can do something about waterproofing it. The other one's not so bad. But anyways, yeah. So here's the wok burner. These will not hook up to your changeover regulators or standard regulators. It uses 20 psi. It's much more powerful. It's for crab boils, and my gosh, these things are so powerful. I barely turn it on. I mean, it's at 1%, and it's so hot I can almost can't hold the wok. It's like these things are so powerful. So the point is, it's a high pressure system, relatively high pressure, as opposed to these low pressure systems. So it's not going to work in this type of changeover system, at least not any way that I know of. Yeah, so this is the solution. This is me giving back to everyone else that has on YouTube that has helped me out with something like this. And so if you have any questions, feel free to message below, or if I do, check it or message me, and I will try and help you out. But good luck if you're trying something like this. I totally think it's worth it, but yeah, it is a bit of work. All right, thanks.